part 3 of our conversation with Steve Porcaro, where you ask the questions. I'm John Beaudin from Rock History Music. You'd worked with Yes. That experience, was it, I mean, being a big Yes fan, you and I talked in depth about the fact that when you first heard those songs and you were humming them and you went to that record store and you wanted to know what that, I don't know if it was Yours Is No Disgrace. I forget what it was.
No, it was much earlier. That was from the Yes album. That was Your Move.
Oh, yeah. So what was that? How did that come about? You get a call? I mean...
Yeah, that came about by a friend of mine, Rory Kaplan, who had done some synths live with Michael Jackson, and we were friends from high school. He got called by a producer, Jonathan Elias, who was working with Yes at the time. Now, besides John Anderson, I don't think anyone else in the band was happy about this producer. And I worked on 2 things. It was a rough experience for me. Again, it was I'm working with Yes, so I'm thrilled about it, but the producer and I didn't hit it off at all, which is a really strange thing for me to say, because I'm real good at getting along with producers. But it just didn't come out. And then to hear Rick Wakeman and these guys, my heroes, I mean, they won't even listen to that album because they, you know what I mean? The fact they brought in LA studio guys like me is just abhorrent to them, And I kind of don't blame them. Mm-hmm. I did do some cool stuff, though,
Okay, I'm going to get back to some questions here.
Sure.
Steve, as a drummer, I know how you felt about Jeff and Simon and others. But other than those 2, who is a drummer that you would like to work with that you have not worked with yet?
God, there's a million. There's a million great guys out there. Manu, I've never worked with Steve Gadd. I've worked with Keltner, but the list goes on and on. There's a million guys. Vinny and I are old friends, but I don't think we've ever actually worked together. Vinny was, I'd be there at the Baked Potato watching Vinny with all my friends playing, but like him and I have never worked together. I'd love to work with Vinny. So I could go on and on.
Do you spend any time listening to music, and if so, what do you like? What are some of your favorites?
I try to listen to music all the time, and I try to listen to new music. I mean, it's easy to listen to top 40 stuff is very hard for guys at my age. Some of it, but every now and then, I'm always on the look for something I like. I'm rooting for it. I love too on alt. There's these alt stations on Sirius and stuff like that. Alt radio.
Yeah.
And I love that stuff. There's all kinds of amazing synth stuff. I love bands like Muse that use a lot of synths, and I'm going to date myself with some of these bands, but I love a lot of new stuff that's out there. I think there's a lot of great stuff out there. I was kind of hoping my record would get on some of those stations or something, but I may have aged out.
That's the problem. I was asked the other day when I was doing a thing in my backyard, they go, why doesn't classic rock play new music from those classic rock artists? And I went, because they don't, that's canceled out because of the fact of they don't want to play the new stuff. They have a station that only plays the old stuff. And unfortunately, even classic rock now is changing because classic rock's becoming very classic poppy. But it is what it is, right?
Steve, are you using all soft synths or some hard synths?
I love to use hard synths. As a matter of fact, there's some I'm looking forward to getting. Polyfusion, as a matter of fact, is making a new keyboard hardware synth. I love that stuff. But for a lot of the film work I do, and because I jump around so much from song to song, I'll go and work on something. I do use a lot of soft synths because it just comes back up. When I open the sequence, where I left off, it comes back up for the most part. Now, when it gets down to the actual recording, when I'm actually doing it for real and it's going to be the record, I'll pull out a CS80. I'll pull out some hard synths. I'll pull out the Polyfusion stuff, which is being completely rebuilt right now, by the way. Then I'll do all that. But for convenience and just jumping from song to song, or when I'm doing film, cue to cue, soft synths are amazing for that, to be able to move around quick.
How did you guys come up with the Weezer song Hash Pipe as a cover?
I had thought Luke was off. What was Luke off doing? He was off doing a Ringo thing. We had just done a tour. We were coming home for a month. And Luke was off doing Ringo, and I just thought, you know what I mean? I wanted to do something in my studio, and the idea hit me. Let's answer this. They had done 2 of ours. You know, they had done a version of Rosanna as well, and I thought let's answer it. You know, so I right away started thinking of what would be, you know, first of all, what would I want to do? Which of their songs? I started listening to a lot of their stuff. And what would I want to do, and what would Joseph be able to pull off, you know? So I was actually leaning towards something else. I forgot what it was, maybe Beverly Hills. I thought, I was leaning towards Beverly Hills or something like that. But Joseph came in, and we listened to a couple things together, and we decided that Hash Pipe, if we just raised it up a step, if we just moved it up to another key, that would be a good rock and roll one to do.
Didn't you do it in Vancouver first?
I don't know, did we?
I think you did. I think because we had it, and I remember asking Luke after the show. I texted him, I think, and I said, "Do you want me to like put this up?" He says, "Well, no." And then he got back to me. He says, "What am I thinking about? Everyone's going to put it up," and they did. And I ended up not putting it up, but I think it was Vancouver. That was it was when we got to meet in person, which was really nice.
I just did most of the track in my studio, and then sent it to Shannon in Nashville to put drums on. And when Luke got home, in an afternoon, he was here for maybe an hour and a half, maybe, putting on all the guitars and doing the solo. And
wow. Make sure you comment on our video, subscribe to our channel, and share our videos. I'm John Beaudin from Rock History Music.